the greatest moment of his life. This is probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. Jaelan Phillips is really excited to be a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. And he didn't even grow up an Eagles fan. Jair Alexander grew up an Eagles fan. Said the Eagles were his favorite team growing up. He was naming Jeremiah Trotter yesterday, senior, of course. He was talking about guys that he grew up watching. How awesome is that? And now he is here wearing a Philadelphia Eagles jersey. He is here at the NovaCare Complex, having himself a great time. Welcome into the show. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. My name is Mark Farzy. It's great to have you along for this little ride here. Nothing but good vibes coming out of the NovaCare Complex. Even A.J. Brown had a case of the hee-hees yesterday while talking to the media. There was a repeated question kind of like all along the same lines of, have you guys cracked the code? Do you feel like you guys have opened up this offense again? Do you guys think you're back on track after winning back-to-back games? Jalen Hurts got asked the same question. I think it was actually John McMullen, and it was something along the lines of that. Did you guys crack the code, figure something out? You guys know what you're doing now, that kind of thing. And Jalen Hurts' response was, well, I don't like to think of it as cracking a code. It's just a matter of knowing we can do it and then doing it. We've known we can do it, but we haven't been able to do it. I'm like, that's kind of the question. But A.J. Brown in his locker yesterday was asked about trade talks. He was asked about Jair Alexander, a guy he's got a little bit of a history with. And he was just having himself a good time. Didn't really get too much into they're using me without using me or using me without using me stuff. He's just focused on moving ahead. And I do hope for A.J. Brown and this Philadelphia Eagles team and for you and for me, all this social media stuff, all this drama, all this hinting at a problem without talking about the problem is over with. I really hope it's over with. And as I told you guys yesterday, I have a phenomenal feeling about the second half of this year for the Eagles. Regardless of what Jalen Hurts wants to acknowledge or not, I do feel like they have sort of cracked a bit of a code here, offensively speaking. My contention was that the offensive line was the biggest problem that this offense was having in the first half of the season, not allowing this team to establish any sort of running game with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley in the backfield. And now, hey, Tank Bigsby, good to see you. It seems like they have finally gotten on the same page with blocking, and hopefully you have guys coming back healthy and ready to play on Monday night on that offensive line. As far as the passing game, that has certainly looked better over the last two games. Those guys getting on the same page. A.J. Brown said he is most important thing from A.J. Brown, buried the lead a wee bit there. He's going to play on Monday night. According to him, the hamstring will be ready to go come Monday night against the Green Bay Packers, which is awesome to hear. But you saw that passing game get on the same page against the Minnesota Vikings. You saw the run game and the passing game, when needed, work against the New York Giants before taking the bye. It's time to unleash the fury. I heard a lot this season from Jalen Hurts talking about the macro perspective. Yesterday, when he was asked about when he looked back, when he took a step back to look at the team with a macro perspective, you know what he said? He said we need to work on our discipline. We need to work on our efficiency, and we need to work on our execution. I think anybody watching from the actual macro perspective of the stands would agree with all of that going forward, and hopefully they have cracked that code going forward. On a down note, yesterday, bad stories in the NFL. Stories you don't want to see in the NFL. Regardless of how you feel about Antonio Brown, he was arrested in Dubai. And brought back to the United States on an attempted murder charge, apparently stemming from being at a celebrity boxing match where he grabbed the gun of a security guard and started firing at somebody that he had an altercation with earlier in the night, claiming people were trying to steal his jewelry. Wild. And then Marshawn Nealon of the Dallas Cowboys. I know a lot of people scoff at the idea of, and this is very unfortunate, and I get it, why people do it. I just, this needs to change, that it shouldn't be scoffed at anymore when people bring up mental toughness, mental health, or anything like that. This is a very real problem. I was raised in a school of basically, toughen up, be a man, stuff like that. And that might work for some people, but it doesn't work for everybody. And just because maybe you were like me and you were raised a certain way, it doesn't mean that you can't ever go through moments of vulnerability. Those moments of vulnerability are a lot more serious for some people than they might be for you or for me. And certainly yesterday, you could look at that with Marshawn Nealon. And my heart goes out to his family, the people close to him. It's a very sad story. If you want to look at the details of it, if you haven't already, one of the messages I actually heard from Matt Rule, now the Nebraska head coach. I knew him when he was at Temple University. Was check you got to check on your people basically, and if you have an opportunity to do that, if you know somebody who's struggling, check in on them. It's a real thing. It's not something that you just go, oh, tough it up. No, mental health is a real thing. So I wanted to make sure we address that early on in this show. Your Philadelphia Flyers last night won their second in a row against the Nashville Predators. Hell of a game. We'll get into that a little bit later in the program. Sixers off last night. Yay. Off tonight. Woohoo. Back at it for another back-to-back Saturday and Sunday. They got the Toronto Raptors coming up Saturday, and then they have the Detroit Pistons coming up on Sunday for yet another back-to-back. In the NovaCare complex yesterday, Jalen Hurts, I didn't really feel it gave you a lot. Nick Sirianni, I didn't get a lot. The coaches went over his house as they do usually early in the bye week to kind of hash some things out, if you will. He talked about his dog, loving up on Kevin Patullo. Okay, adorable. But really didn't get into too many details as one would assume. Jalen Hurts, like I said, really didn't give you much. Just talked about a little bit of that macro perspective. He credited Green Bay's defense with being sticky, something you got to watch out for, of course. Feels like he's going to be getting guys. This Eagles team is going to be getting guys back healthy after the bye week. So that's obviously great. He did hear the quote. Now, before I tell you about Jalen Hurts' perspective on it, here is Jaelan Phillips, and I alluded to this to start out the show. Jaelan Phillips on joining the Philadelphia Eagles and what that moment meant to him. Here he was in his locker yesterday at the NovaCare complex.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was excited day one. I mean, talk to me now. Like, this is literally the greatest thing that's happened to me in my whole life, probably. But it's just awesome. I mean, the guys are awesome. Everybody's been super welcoming. I love the environment here. I love the vibe here. The city of Philly's, giving me a very warm welcome. I got about 20 times the amount of Instagram likes that I ever got on a post before from the Philly fans, so shout out to y'all. But yeah, it's been great so far, getting out there practicing. I love the weather here. I love the locker room. Like, everything's awesome.
What makes it the greatest moment? You think it's the greatest moment? Why is that?
I just think it's a pivotal point in my life and in my career. I have a baby on the way, a little boy coming. Coming here. Obviously contract year next year. I'm taking it day by day, but I just truly feel like this is an amazing opportunity for me to come in, and I'm just grateful to be able to do everything I can to help the team too.
This is the greatest compliment that we could really get here as a fan base, as the Eagles as a team. If a guy's referring to a moment he gets traded to your organization as the best moment of his life or the greatest thing that's ever happened to him, that's high praise right there. We used to, now this, to be specific, when Jeffrey Lurie said this, he was talking about money. He was talking about the cap and all that stuff. But as things often do, out of context, the gold standard. Back before the Eagles under Jeffrey Lurie even played in a Super Bowl, he talked about the team being the gold standard. And everyone across the Delaware Valley had an epic eye roll waiting for Jeffrey Lurie. You haven't even won a Super Bowl as a franchise. You haven't even been to a Super Bowl as an owner. What are you talking about? You haven't won a Super Bowl as a franchise. You haven't been to a Super Bowl as an owner. What are you talking about? Been to one Super Bowl. Prior to Jeffrey Lurie, one Super Bowl, 1980. Took the L, unfortunately. Now you have won 2 Super Bowls. You have been to 3 Super Bowls since 2017, 2018. You obviously won 2 of those. You have an opportunity to get back to another one this year. You have an opportunity to win back-to-back Super Bowls right now. when a player talks about coming to your organization as the greatest thing that's ever happened, that means you've become a gold standard in the NFL. If you're a Super Bowl champion, odds are you could be looked at as the standard. Sometimes, yeah, sure, a team might luck itself into getting in the Super Bowl, but winning it, closing it out in that kind of fashion, like the Eagles did last year. And I'm not saying luck had a big part of it at all last year for the Eagles, but we've all watched some paper cut Super Bowls over the years. Like, I don't know about this one, but with this Eagles team, they absolutely earned it, and they were absolutely the best team in football last year. Zero doubt about that, and they have been one of the best teams in football for quite some time now. Yeah, they had some an awful collapse a couple of years ago. They lost a Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs, and what could have been different with a little bit of a different holding call or not a call being made in a specific situation. There are things you can certainly look at like that. But this league looks at the Philadelphia Eagles like they not just are on the mountaintop for being a champion, but being on the mountaintop for how they conduct business. Now, they have broken philosophy on paying a linebacker like they're paying Zach Bond simply because, well, he proved his worth to the team and they wanted to keep him around. Then on the other side of things, you look at a guy like Saquon Barkley, who was already making some pretty good money, the top dollar there, and the Eagles decided, to hell with it, we're going to give you more money after that kind of performance last year. Imagine being a guy like Jaelan Phillips coming here to the Philadelphia Eagles, being in a contract year, and you're in hapless Miami, where the GM just got fired. The head coach is most likely to get fired after this season, barring any kind of miraculous end of the season. Apparently, the what is it called? Papa Shot machine had been taken out of the Dolphins locker room. So, pandemonium is breaking out in Miami. Imagine being Jaelan Phillips and you're coming here and you'd be like, wow, look what they did with Saquon Barkley. Wow, look what they did with Zach Bond. I could be next. Oh, and I could also win a Super Bowl? Oh, that sounds pretty good. Oh, and I also get reunited with a defensive coordinator that I love and a defensive coordinator that I had success with already in my career. Oh, yeah, this couldn't be better. But let's get back to the money. Imagine being Jaelan Phillips and you see that this team has paid people that have proved their worth. Yeah, you got to be feeling good about being in a contract year on a team that can be going to the Super Bowl. Because even if it doesn't happen here, let's say Jaelan Phillips comes here and he has not a big impact, but an impact. Let's say between now and the end of the season, he's got like 4 sacks, okay? Not great by any means, but he made his presence felt. 5 sacks, 6 sacks, something like that. He goes on and wins a Super Bowl. All of a sudden, he's an edge rusher from a Super Bowl winning defense who has played under Vic Fangio. Like, that's a nice feather to have in the cap when you go into contract negotiations in the offseason, not just with the Eagles, but anywhere else in the NFL. So, yeah, I kind of get how this could be one of the, probably, I'll use the word he did use, probably, the greatest moment of his life. The greatest thing that's ever happened to him. This is a man that's, he said yesterday, he's expecting his first kid. All right, man, welcome to Philadelphia. You heard him right there talking about, how great the people are in Philly and all that. He is just absolutely thrilled. And I'm thrilled to have him here because he is a great fit for what the Eagles need right now. They didn't give up too much. I don't think they gave up too much at all when you talk about a 3rd-round pick. Yes, you could have gotten far. You could have gotten more talented players with Myles Garrett or Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson, and that would have cost you a boatload of picks. And also talking about the finances of it all, that's a nice chunk of change also. I think they got the great fit for what they needed and a guy that will play much better here in Philadelphia than what you had seen him play at to this point in Miami. And that goes to comfort in the scheme, and that goes to talent around him on the defensive line. So I am absolutely thrilled that he is here in Philadelphia. They made some other acquisitions, obviously. I got into this debate yesterday on Locked On Eagle Squad show about the role of Jair Alexander and the role of Michael Carter. I still think, and maybe we'll hear from Vic Fangio later today, but I still think that Cooper DeJean is going to be your outside corner and Michael Carter is going to be in the inside, and Jair Alexander provides depth. I do believe there's a little crossing of the fingers there where being under Christian Parker again, his defensive backs coach that he was with in Green Bay, that he can come here. Again, this is grasping at straws. I'll put it down as a small likelihood, but for whatever reason, Jair Alexander is a great fit. Let's just say he's a great fit here in Philadelphia and can play in the Vic Fangio scheme and can have newfound success in the Vic Fangio scheme. And the upgraded pass rush of the Philadelphia Eagles helps Jair Alexander as a defensive back. And all of a sudden, you look at this defense and you think, oh, wow, Jair Alexander, he can play on the outside. Cooper DeJean stays on the inside. Michael Carter II is here for depth. As opposed to, okay, Jair Alexander was inactive for 5 games in Baltimore with the Ravens. All of a sudden, he's just going to rediscover some talent that had him as one of the top corners in the NFL. All of a sudden, that's going to happen. Cooper DeJean's moving to the outside. Michael Carter staying on the inside, where he's played the 2,200 snaps in his career. That's what the Eagles are going to do. I still think that's the way it plays out. Cooper DeJean on the outside, Michael Carter on the inside. We'll see what you get from Jair Alexander. But Jair Alexander was at his locker yesterday, asked what happened in Baltimore as to why he was an inactive player for 5 games so far this season. But he does believe that he's got a lot left in the tank to be successful still at the NFL level.
Well, I think they just had some guys they wanted to play, some younger guys, but I'm excited about this opportunity here.
So it wasn't a physical thing. You feel like ready to go,
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What do you think you can bring to this, to the secondary?
Secondary? I'm just going to bring leadership. I'm going to bring some energy. I'm going to bring some swag, confidence. And hopefully we all can feed off one another, feed off that. And, take this thing to the next level.
I hope so. My dream scenario, and it is a dream, it is not based in reality, but my dream scenario is the second scenario I laid out, or the first scenario I laid out for you guys, where, oh, wow, Christian Parker knows how to use Jair Alexander in Vic Fangio's scheme. Maybe Christian Parker, hey Vic, I this guy, I'm telling you, I had him in Green Bay. We obviously played against him last year once in Sao Paulo. He'll be great for you. Vic Fangio, let's look at it. Okay, yeah, well, I could use him. Howie, we should probably get that guy. I wouldn't mind if we got that guy. You get him, and all of a sudden it works beautifully, and Cooper DeJean stays on the inside. That, to me, is the most perfect scenario that could play out. I don't think that's likely, though. Again, what's likely is I feel the reason they made the Michael Carter deal was to move Cooper DeJean to the outside. I also thought it was interesting. That leads me to believe that even more. It's that they had the idea for a couple of weeks, apparently. Jair Alexander said yesterday that this has kind of been in the works for a couple of weeks. I don't know how long it was in the works with Joe Douglas now being an assistant to the general manager here in Philadelphia to bring Michael Carter here. But when I hear Jair Alexander say that, I'm thinking, well, if that was in the work for a couple of weeks, and they still went out and got Michael Carter, then I think either way they knew they needed depth. They looked at what they had in the first half of the year and went, Adoree Jackson, yeah, okay, no. Keely Ringo, hell of a special teamer, but anything else? No thanks. Jacorian Bennett, can he stay healthy? So when you look at it from a macro perspective, I find it interesting that they were knocking on the door of Jair Alexander for a couple of weeks, quote unquote, but still made the move for Michael Carter. Find that interesting. The other aspect of this is the relationship with A.J. Brown. Now, I really don't know what to make of the whole A.J. Brown situation from him being in his locker yesterday. And when I watched the locker room footage, it looked like they got into the conversation, media session late with A.J. Brown and the media. But it looked to me like A.J. just kind of had a very almost whimsical approach to answering questions about whether or not they have cracked the code as an offense. So AJ in his locker yesterday was being asked questions like this, and he took a humorous approach to it.
So do you think this offense has just scratched the surface of what it can be through these first 8 games?
I think we're headed trending in the right direction. Guys, I'm not a coach, so.
You have history with Jair?
Yeah, that's my son. No. We joke with each other. I'm glad he came. He's extremely funny. I always thought he was extremely funny. So yeah, I'm glad we got him.
So Jair Alexander had a sorry, I just had a coughing fit during that clip. Jair Alexander played against the Eagles in Brazil, as we talked about. Did have an interception. And one of the first things he said to A.J. Brown at practice yesterday was he walked up behind him and hugged him and said, "We ain't in Brazil anymore." And that's true. That's true. They do have a good relationship. He was joking about the whole dad comment there that A.J. Brown just made. But all in all, it's good to walk into a new locker room, as Jair Alexander described it, and said it was like his first day at school at a new school. It's good to walk in there and already have a little bit of that camaraderie, despite not having been teammates before. Also, I mentioned it's interesting to come here and play for a team that you grew up rooting for, in Jair Alexander and the Philadelphia Eagles. I found that to be very interesting. But everything else that A.J. Brown was saying in his locker, he was also asked about trades, the trade talk. He just doesn't really pay much attention to it. And he's just focused on moving forward with the Eagles. The situation that we're following with A.J. Brown, let's talk about the only thing that really, truly matters. And that's what goes on the football field. I want A.J. Brown to be here for a long time. I think he's an extremely talented wide receiver. Well, excuse me, let's acknowledge he is an extremely talented wide receiver. I still consider him to be one of the best in the NFL. If you have an offensive line problem, you have an everything problem. If you don't have a good offensive line holding blocks for you, then you're not going to be able to distribute the football to wide receivers that you want to distribute the football to, or receivers in general that you want to distribute the football to. Through this bye week, I would love to see the Eagles, not just for the opponents that have taken a bit of a hit since the Eagles went on their bye week, and the teams that we mentioned yesterday, the Packers, the Lions, and the Cowboys, of course. The Cowboys just not looking like a football team that's worth taking serious with how they played most recently. But I look at this Eagles team and I see it being a team that will get better. I don't see it being a team that will continue to just eke out victories as the season goes on. One of the ways they're going to be able to unlock, that was the word yesterday used by John McMullen, unlock this offense is because of the work they put in the bye week and the work they had going into the bye week, where you saw a dominant passing game. You saw a dominant run game. Do exactly what that run game is supposed to do against a team like the New York Giants. And also, wide receiver. By the way, one of those games without A.J. Brown against the Giants, obviously, that passing game still looked to be on point. What matters most is how this team is going to perform on the football field. I have told you guys before, the difference I see in A.J. Brown versus a T.O. or any real drama queen type wide receiver, me first wide receiver, is that I don't believe that A.J. only takes up for himself. Like, I'm not getting targets. I think A.J. takes up for other people. Like, hey, Jaelan, you're not seeing us, that kind of thing, when stuff like that comes up. I don't think it's all about him like some people want to paint that picture. I think he is more of a team guy than a lot of other people would like to admit. So when he's getting asked questions about what this offense is doing, he keeps on going back to, I'm not a coach. I'm not a coach. I'm not a coach. If you remember the first Giants game, after the game, A.J. Brown was at his locker. And while Lane Johnson was preaching about predictability, A.J. Brown was talking about execution. We need to execute. And if we're not doing that as an offense, we're not winning. A lot of people, they jump to the Kevin Patullo thing on predictability. I was thinking more along the lines of, hold on, this is going beyond the typical players speak of, coaches always talk about how they got to do a better job. When players are talking about execution, you know what they're talking about? They're talking about them doing a better job. To them, to A.J. Brown in this case, it wasn't about Kevin Patullo's lack of creativity or being predictable. It was a matter of us not making the plays that are available. I think when it comes to that, he is talking about Jalen Hurts. Because Jalen did not have a good game in that Giants game. And I've said before, Jalen, and the Giants game is a perfect example of this, when the phrase is meat on the bone. Jalen in that game left a lot of meat on the bone. Jalen in that game had, obviously, A.J. Brown open in the end zone for the interception. That was the interception play by Flott that Jalen made a bad read, made a bad decision, and made a terrible throw. That was the interception. Earlier in that game, the play that we really isolated was the Dallas Goedert 23-yard reception over the middle of the field, where he's got Dallas Goedert open in the middle of the field, wide open. And for whatever reason, Jaelan is patting the ball in the pocket, not giving the ball to his tight end, who's wide open. And he's got a line of sight to him. He's staring right at him. Maybe the hesitation came because he was thinking about taking the deeper shot. The routes were layered on this play where Dallas Goedert was going across the middle or sitting in the middle. And over the top was Jahan Dotson, who was about 10 yards deeper than Dallas Goedert, had the safety beat. Jaelan airs that ball out. I got zero doubt in my mind that's a touchdown. Now, a 23-yard gain is still a really good play, but the meat that was left on the bone was 7 points. I think that's what A.J. Brown is talking about, plays like that. Now, I don't think there's been a plethora of those plays throughout the season, but there's been enough where in tight games where you want your quarterback to be the difference, or a wide receiver thinks that he has the opportunity to make the difference and the quarterback doesn't see him or decides not to throw that ball. I can understand how that'd be frustrating for A.J. Brown, and also frustrating for A.J. Brown when he sees an opportunity for Jahan Dotson or sees an opportunity for Devontae Smith. I can understand why that'd be stressful. Or Dallas Goedert leaking out on a blitz and Jaelan has the line of sight and for whatever reason rolls to his left and then tucks back and rolls back to his right. I can understand why that'd be frustrating. My only ask of A.J. Brown is when that happens, be a good teammate. Speak up. But don't make it a public affair. I know that I'm supposed to love the drama, something to talk about, right? I hate it. I'd rather talk about what makes this football team good on the football field and what makes this team bad on the football field, as opposed to, I can't believe he said that. And the fact that he hints at problems on the football field without getting into it, other than talking about the idea of this team not executing, that's a problem. Because then you're acknowledging that there's something else in there. I'd rather you just lie. I'd rather you just be like, man, we're good. We're just getting on the same page. Everything's good. But that's where the drama starts. I'd really love for the second half of this season for a couple of things to happen. I gave you the wish list last week. I'd love to see them be able to get after the quarterback. Hi, Jaelan Phillips. Good to see you. Nolan Smith, you're healthy? All right, let's party. I'd love for the drama to end. And obviously, I'd love for the offensive line to just, as many young football coaches say through high school and all that stuff, just get rid of them. When you're making a block upfield, just get rid of them. Don't sit there and play patty cake with them. The perfect example was the big run by Saquon. Second play of the game, first run of the game, where Saquon breaks it for, 65 against the Giants. Landon Dickerson, first off, great job by Saquon kind of helping the block set up, where he cuts into his right a little bit, takes a step to the right on the handoff, and then cuts back to the left. And Landon Dickerson gets off the double team, goes upfield to block the linebacker. That was just perfect execution. When I hear Jordan Mailata talk about assignments and focus, I hear that is a struggle in the run game. Because, and I've mentioned this before, but a lot of the offensive linemen I've talked to over the years always talk about how they rather run block. No, it's not true for everybody. Some other people just rather pass block. But what they love about the run block is that thud and done. You've heard me say this before. Thud and done. They make the hit. It's over. They run past and see you later. Pass blocking is, you got to sit there for 3 seconds, 4 seconds trying to hold that block. That could be a little tiring. But the mental aspect of that is a lot easier, because you're not thinking about, all right, do I have to pull here, make the block over there, got to find the guy, make the block, seal it off. No, pass blocking, you just drop back, you just keep the guy in front of you. That's how the pros have described it to me. So if you're telling me you have an issue executing with run blocking, that you're telling me, then yeah, sure as hell, you're not focused. And also, you don't know your assignment. You don't know how to pull, block, shed, get up field, block again. Really? That's what we're talking about, execution. And that has been a big problem with this Eagles offensive line. And yeah, I don't believe that there's even just a magic drop in talent. I believe that these guys aren't healthy. I believe that Landon Dickerson's trying to fight through it. I believe Cam Jurgens is trying to fight through it. Tyler Steen I don't think he's been a train wreck by any means, But obviously, he's no Mekhi Becton for what he was able to do, just throwing bodies around. Speaking about getting rid of guys, just tossing dudes around like they're rag dolls. And it's not going to get a whole lot easier against Green Bay. So it is, I think, the perfect time for the bye. One thing Jaelan did say was he loved how the bye week was right in the middle of everything, and it comes at a time where you need to get healthy, and it comes at a time where you really feel like you're starting to get on the same page as more mostly an offense. And I really hope that's the case. I really hope that's the case for this Philadelphia Eagles team, and I do think that it is the case with this Eagles team. One more thing from A.J. Brown. He was asked about the trade talks. Here he was yesterday talking about how he deals with that.
Again, it's not that I was surprised. I didn't know. Like I said, I was only focused on my family and being present and getting healthy. So.
How did you spend that bye week, and how did it?
I'm sorry, let that go. Just focus on the here and now. I'd love to see a moment on the sidelines. I don't need a bro hug, okay? I don't need hugs and kisses. I don't need duibachi. I don't need the 2 kisses on both cheeks. You know what I mean? I don't need that with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. I just need a moment that shows that they're on the same page. Because that moment for me will let me know that there won't be another moment like in the Buccaneers game when Jalen just 3 straight plays to A.J. Brown. He was open on one of them. The other 2 were just missed. One was just a terrible miss by Jalen Hurts. The other was, I think, Jalen just trying to get rid of it. And the third was no effort from A.J. Brown. Like, forcing it into him, essentially. I don't need that. I don't want to have to see that again. Because stuff like that doesn't work in the playoffs. This game against Green Bay Packers, I think, is going to be the start of something really great down the stretch where the Eagles regain a lot of what they were last year. I do believe they have played below their standard, and I do think there is something to be said for a 6-2 football team that has played really one complete game this season, and that was against the Giants. One complete game. They've essentially, for the most part, other than the Vikings where they played like 3 solid quarters, other than the Vikings and the Giants most recently, you're talking about a team that hasn't played more than 4 really good quarters of football. Or excuse me, 2 really good quarters of football. You haven't seen a team play more than 2 really good quarters of football yet this year, and they're 6-2, people. Yeah, that gives me hope that if you just correct a couple of things, get on the same page a little bit, you upgrade talent at the edge rusher position, at the cornerback position, then you will be a better football team. And this isn't the normal, they added a guy, so it's going to work. He's better than what they've had, so don't worry. No, these are guys that are experienced in terms of the coaching and guys that really know these players. Like Joe Douglas really knows Michael Carter and what he could do. I don't think he's making that acquisition unless he knows he can be a perfect fit for what Vic Fangio needs on this defense. Michael Carter's credit, by the way, yesterday in his locker. By the way, Jair Alexander, Michael Carter, and Jaelan Phillips all said the right thing as far as helping this team win, whatever it takes. Jaelan Phillips played the majority of his snaps on the left side of the line of scrimmage. If he's got to play more on the right side of the line of scrimmage, he'll make that switch. If that's what it means for Nolan Smith to come back and have an impact, he'll switch it up. Michael Carter, if he's got to play on the inside like he has most of his career, he'll do it. If he's got to play on the outside, whatever the team needs. Jair Alexander, whatever the team needs. Said all the right things yesterday at the locker room, in the locker room. But these guys know these players. Joe Douglas obviously knows Michael Carter, what he could do there. Christian Parker obviously knows Jair Alexander, what he could do here in Philadelphia. Vic Fangio obviously knows Jaelan Phillips and what he could do on his defense. And the great thing about Jaelan Phillips, I mean, people look at 3 sacks and they go, oh, what's this guy got? He's got a lot. Because it's not just about getting after the quarterback, but I do think you get after the quarterback more with Moro Ojomo and Jalen Carter in the middle of this defensive line. That's going to help. And then on the defensive stopping the run as a defense, he's been great at that this season. And now he's going to be doing it with those guys on the defensive line with him. Yeah. I think that's simple math. That add those things together, and I think it adds up to success this year. It certainly, at the very least, adds up to improvement. Excuse me, still fighting this cold. By the way, somebody speculated yesterday it was the flu. It is not the flu. Thank you very much. I have no fever. Feeling a lot better. I got a lot of work to do today, too. I got a lot of work to do on the microphone at the house, charity event to host. Lots going on, man. Lots going on. I'm actually really glad that I'll have a mostly easy Sunday. Watching football and basketball. Got to watch the Sixers take on the Pistons there. That'll be a good time. So yeah. Your Philadelphia Flyers improved to 8-5-1 on the young season. They did so with a 3-1 victory. It was an empty netter at the end of the game by Travis Konechny to give him the 3-1 victory. But Matvei Mishkov scored his first goal in quite some time. I'm blanking. Vladar was in net, had 23 saves on the night. This Flyers team is fun. I know the Nashville Predators so far this season haven't exactly been a huge brag, but I told you guys at the beginning of the year, if you're the least bit of a hockey fan, okay, like I'll put it as you're a type of person that's like, call me when they're in the playoffs, that type of thing. This is a really good year to invest in the Flyers. It's a really good year to just kind of follow along what they're doing throughout the season, see who's getting hot, see what goaltender they're trusting the most, see how Travis Konechny's performing. Trevor Zegras just finding guys. Watch the young talent build and watch how Rick Tocchet is organizing this talent. It's a really good year to invest in the Flyers, and then next year they spend that money and get after it. But yeah, they picked up the 3-1 win last night. TK came up with the empty netter. Matvei Mishkov, I mentioned. Noah Cates. I think Noah Cates was the picking up the loose change in front of the net, depositing it in the back of the net. Yeah, nice win by the Flyers last night. Your Philadelphia 76ers, as I've mentioned, they're off today again. Back at it tomorrow. They got another back-to-back Raptors and Pistons coming up. You're going to see Joel Embiid tonight. Or tomorrow night, excuse me. You're going to see Joel Embiid again tomorrow night. My eyes aren't going to be as much on him. And I think a lot of people need to go about it like this. Because I know a lot of people just want to jump to judgment of Embiid. To me, that's, I don't think, the biggest area of focus. Because I have a low bar right now for Joel Embiid. My bar for a Joel Embiid right now is nowhere near an MVP candidate. It's really not even an all-star right now. Like over the next month plus of the season, with him already having a couple of games under his belt, I'm just going to be watching the physical progression, not necessarily the production. I'm going to be watching the progression. It's not always going to be judged about what I see on a stat sheet when it comes to points or rebounds or assists or plus minus or anything. It's going to be all about just physically how he looks. That's going to be the bigger indicator of how he could possibly help you midway through the season and at the end of the season. That's how it's going to work for me with judging Joel Embiid. Because everything else, I'm judging Tyrese Maxey more. I'm judging the hopefully steady improvement of VJ Edgecombe and how he is locking in as a professional basketball player. That's what I'm going to be paying more attention to. And also how Nick Nurse uses these guys. Because looking at Joel Embiid, look, I don't think he's hurt anymore, but he's certainly making his way back from that injury, from another knee surgery. And this isn't to pat him on the head or patronize or anything. This is just trying to acknowledge the status of where he's at right now, the status of the injury right now. And I hate to use the word fair, but it's more along the lines of being accurate than it is fair or anything else. I don't think it's the best gauge of how good this team is by judging what Joel Embiid is doing as far as production. Progression of the injury and the overall physical ability of the athlete, I think, is the bigger deal here. Because I'm not expecting him to go out and get you 30 a night and 15 rebounds and 7 assists or anything like that. I just want to see the guy be able to run the floor. I want to see him be able to jump and land on his feet, not like use his feet to break his fall where he still falls. I don't want to see that anymore. But I do believe there is a version of Joel Embiid that can still very much help this team without being the roadblock that some people are setting him up to be so far at this point in the season. When I've talked about this before, I've talked about how if you would have told me in the middle of the summer Joel Embiid would be playing and he'd be scoring 20 points, I'd be pretty excited about that. Because that would at least give me the idea that the trajectory that he is on is one that can really help this team later in the season. Again, not be an MVP again, not even be an all-star, but just be in a place by the end of the year where he is healthy enough, strong enough, conditioned enough to be able to help this team down the stretch. And as of right now, I'm not painting the picture with a broad brush about where Joel Embiid is going to be at the end of the year, but I'm just judging him right now. I don't think is accurate enough to tell what he's doing right now. I don't think will give you an accurate enough picture to tell you where he's going to be at the end of the season. And that to me is what will matter most. Now, with that being said, I still stand by everything I said yesterday as far as, okay, if he's not there yet, then he should not be on the floor trying to close games. Because he ain't there yet. He ain't helping you. He ain't helping you in those situations. So if you have him on the floor against the Celtics, thanks, but no thanks at the end of that game. You have him on the floor against Chicago Bulls, thanks, but no thanks. Don't want him out there for that. If he's still ramping up and he's not the player that he once was right now, then there's no reason he should be out there on the court to end games that you're trying to close out because he ain't ready for that yet. So you got to make a decision. Are you trying to win or are you trying to rehabilitate Joel Embiid? Because you can't do both at the end of the game. I think that's been proven so far this season. Let me tell you right now about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARZI, get $20 off your first purchase of the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARZI, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat, check and see how you guys are doing. Right? Hold on. Come on. There it is. Okay. I lost my mouse. There we go. Rye, what's going on? Football Friday, always long live Jerry Jones, effing the Cowboys. Yeah, Jerry Jones. I hope. Like, I didn't like Dan Snyder at all, but I liked that he owned the Washington football team, the Commanders. I like that because he was dope. April, straight up dealer time today. It was a rough go of it, getting going this morning. And I feel like I'm doing a press conference. I got to do a better job, putting my start times in a better position to be on time and not dealer time. Lee me alone. What's up? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Have you seen my ponytail? I forget what I was yesterday, but Farzy Poo is a different one. Thank you. Nice to see you. The A.J. Brown stuff isn't over, but it's sorted. Dave, I like how you put that. Jason A, good morning. Only 20. Marshawn Nealon. And the touchdown that the Cowboys scored, he jumped on it. And I thought Matt Rule made a really good point because it's a weird thing. And it's sad, but it's true. When you watch football or you watch TV in general, or you watch whatever show, you have this picture of the person that they're doing great. Like, oh, this person has this job. This person's in the NFL. This person has this TV show. And you see them as the character that they are in your life. Like they're a football player or they're a television actor or they're a movie actor, whatever. And you put them in that category. That's the character that they are in your mind, right? And you think, oh, this guy just scored a touchdown. This is the point Matt Rule made. You're watching this guy score a touchdown in the NFL and you're thinking, oh, this guy, it can't be better than that. But you never know what's going on. And I know this quote gets attributed to Robin Williams a lot, but I really do honestly try to live my life like this, is that someone you're interacting with, a cashier, a movie attendant, just a waiter, waitress, somebody that is in your life for whatever brief moment, they're fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Be kind. And that's what the quote that's attributed to Robin Williams a lot. And I honestly, I think that's a great way to go about life, is to just give everyone the benefit of the doubt. You don't know what's going on in their lives. If they're all of a sudden abruptly angry at you for something that really in the situation doesn't call for it, realize that something else is going on, and I shift to kindness. Now, if somebody's threatening my family, that's a totally different story. But if it's something that like, oh, that waiter was a little rude, okay, just gonna keep killing them with kindness. That's the way I'm gonna go about it. And I just think that's great advice because you really don't know what somebody else is going through. You really don't know what somebody else is going through. That's something to always keep in mind there. Sean Kilrain, by the way, I hope I don't sound too preachy. I'm sorry if I do, but it's just the way I do it. Sean Kilrain, how you doing, man? Good morning. Antonio Brown's a clown. I don't know what the hell's going on with Antonio Brown, but the last couple of years has not been exactly great for him. But more than that, it's like 7 years. Dave, hello. Everyone involved knows the goal and will work towards it. That doesn't mean that in the offense or at some point next year things won't kick off again, but this has been the cycle since day one. What with the Eagles offense? Sirianni 3-0 versus Matt LaFleur, including the playoffs. Eagles won 4 of 5 dating back to 2019. Eagles are 2-2 in Green Bay since 2023. They last played there in 2020. Was that the Hurts? Hurts had a game there as well. He was asked for some nostalgia on it, really couldn't drum it up. Dave, I believe this is Miami's head coach, the little Miami Vice. Yeah, a little bit. Sean, I did see that. Nealon lost his mother unexpectedly. I think that was right before the draft. A loss he carried because of her influence was in his journey to football. Farzy, may rest in peace. 24 years old to you. I totally agree. K. Robinson, hello. If Jair works out, he and Q will be great. I don't think Coop is going to the outside. I don't want Coop to go to the outside. Let me be clear. But I don't feel like you bring in an as experienced nickel in Michael Carter without the number one intent being Cooper DeJean going to the outside. Ken Saad, what's up? Now, I hope you're right, though, K. Robinson. Let me tell you this. A lot of times in this business, I got to root to be wrong. I'm rooting to be wrong. Ken Saad, what's going on? Farzy, check this out. DeJean has allowed a 60.6 completion percentage on his targets, second lowest among slot corners with 20-plus targets. That's pretty damn good, I think. Jason A., tired of this AJ crap. I swear they just want a media buzz like how Jerry does with his Cowboys. Yeah, maybe. See, but a lot of this AJ brings on himself. And that's the part, as someone who's defended him more than most, that's the part that I don't get. Like, do you just want attention by hinting at problems? Because even I praised him last year. Because last year, people were going up to him literally saying, hey, your numbers are down. Your numbers are down. Hey, your numbers are down. You know your numbers are down? And AJ was at his locker. I remember I played the clip on the show. AJ's in his locker just going like, you're not going to get me. You're not going to get me. You're not going to get me. Like, you're not going to get me to say something stupid and cause the drama. And I'm like, good for you. And then I think it was the very next game was the Panthers game. That's what it was. And he came out with the, hey, what do you guys need to work on? Passing. There we go, April. You and I are on the same page there. Costs nothing to be kind. Mental health hits everyone in different ways. I concur. Okay, I mean, I don't trust 76ers as hype. Yeah, I can understand why we all have issues. Give yourself some Mucinex. Say bye-bye to whatever you have, Farzy. Maybe I'll try that next. I'm all hopped up on Dayquil right now. Right, AJ's Hall of Fame speech. Y'all thought I was a diva, but it was all planned so that my child's godfather isn't picked on. That is great. Thank you. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. Tonight, nothing. Flyers are off. They play the Senators at home Saturday night. That's tomorrow. Oh, hey, my reminder. My brother's birthday tomorrow. Also, like I've mentioned before a million times already, the 76ers off until Saturday. What am I saying? This is making no sense. Senators at 1 o'clock, not 7 o'clock. I was like, wait, how are they playing at the same time? And they're both home. Senators at 1 o'clock. Flyers, Senators, 1 o'clock, South Philly. 7:30, Sixers and Raptors on Saturday night. So that's the way that one shapes up. I saw one person ask me about the schedule for this weekend in the NFL, games paying attention to. Honestly, haven't even looked at it yet. I'll take a quick glance. Miami hosts the Bills. Hopefully the Bills choke in that one, just for the sake of it. Minnesota hosting Baltimore. I'm going to be rooting for Baltimore in that one, obviously. Tampa Bay and New England could be interesting at Tampa. 49ers, Rams. Hope the Rams take the L there in San Francisco or Santa Clara. And Lions and Commanders. The Commanders, I think we all expect, just to go on a downhill spiral right now. So that's the way that one shapes up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag.
Well, that's pretty dope.
Thank you, Nick. And just to keep in mind over the weekend before the Eagles face them on Monday.
Take away the scoreboard.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you guys later today on Locked On 76ers at 10 o'clock. Me and Keith Pompey talking Sixers, and then throughout the weekend as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.